Hello, I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. Our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and unconditional love. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come. Our show this evening is about the wealth and health and safety, our number 4 segment with the amazing Jolie Diane, a Marinite and dedicated activist, and is on assignment to educate about GMOs. We have had 3 previous segments about geoengineering, weather modification, smart meters, and all of the side effects and resolutions to get our health and safety back to healthy levels. Jolie Diane is a Bay Area peace, environmental, and social activist, justice activist. After learning about the manipulation of weather modification, GMOs, and smart meters, and being deliberately manipulated, largely by Monsanto and to depopulate by Bill Gates, Jolie started focusing on working with other activists to educate and promote resolutions and change for a healthy environment for us to live by. Are we ready? Yes? Welcome, Jolie.
Oh,
This
you.
is number 4. Yes. GMO. So here we are. I know you've done a lot of research, and there's a lot of information, and we're going to have to streamline the information. But we're talking about GMO. So please tell the origin and what it means.
Well, GMOs, Cheryl, and it's so great to be here again to talk about these things that are so important to our health. But GMOs, we're just taking the engineering paradigm and putting it into our food. And the definition of a GMO is any type of organism, plant, or animal whose genetic material has been manipulated through genetic engineering. Sounds appealing, huh?
Oh my goodness, and it is rampant. I have to tell you, we had spoken yesterday and I think a couple days ago. Today I called and a taqueria place around the corner, and I said, are your ingredients GMO free? And you know what? They didn't even know what GMO was. The only place I could find them was Good Earth, because I brought some GMO free food for my crew. But anyway, so it's really important that we talk about the basics.
Right, absolutely. And, nature is so amazing because, as we know, everything comes from a seed. And whatever it is, it grows from a seed, even us. And so when you're talking about genetic engineering with your food, you're talking about introducing something, a bacteria or some sort of DNA, into your food. And so when we buy organic and we say, okay, I'm going to be healthy because I don't want to eat anything that's been genetically modified and, that I don't know what the ingredients are or I can't pronounce them. So what we can do to avoid them is to eat organic food or non-GMO. And I was telling you that, there's labels that you can look for, and they'll either say non-GMO verified, or you can get, it will say just organic. Let's see if we can get one here, just says organic. Now, the interesting thing is that to get the organic accredited, for the farmer, you have to pay a fee. So in other words, it costs the producer of the food money to get that label on there to prove to the consumer that there's no GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and there's no chemicals involved. And so this way we know that what we're eating is pure. And so that it makes sense to look for these labels and try to avoid things that are GMO. We know for sure corn. I pulled up a few things. there's a long list of things
Yeah.
that are full of GMOs. But one of them, the number one is corn. Tends to have a lot of GMOs.
So,
I have,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
let's see, one is corn, two is soy, three is sugar, four is aspartame, five papaya, six
Wow.
canola, seven cotton, eight dairy, nine and 10 is zucchini and yellow squash.
Oh, wow. So what's the reason for this happening? Why are they doing this? I mean, that to me that is important so people understand why.
Well, it's profit. It's profit motivated. You got to understand that again. We've heard this all before with our geoengineering. You're saying essentially, well, nature didn't get it right, so we need to have an intervention in the food. And what they're saying is, well, we can feed way more people. We can get way more yield. And what they really say, and we got to go and we got to look at who is this? This is Monsanto. A lot of people will know who Monsanto is.
Yes, yes.
It's one of the biggest companies, and they are profit driven. GMOs are kind of new. Came on the market in the 90s, 80s, and 90s, and it's what we have to know is that this is a business like anything else, and just like geoengineering, just like smart meters. Well, GMOs have never been proven to be safe, okay? They've never had any studies done, and so what we're finding is GMOs are linked to obesity.
Wasn't this an experiment?
It is indeed. It is. It is.
To the detriment of human beings.
It's unfortunate. If you have the education and then you have enough money, then you can afford to eat well. But the problem is a lot of these GMOs are in foods that are cheap, and so it does target those on a lower socioeconomic path, and it's just unacceptable. We don't have to have this, but it became such a business, and it's like anything else. Once it gets going, it's really hard to put on the brakes.
Now, isn't
Bill
it
Gates, and he's very influential.
Bill Gates?
Yeah, Bill Gates owns 500 million shares of Monsanto.
Oh my God.
And so it's not good.
Well, and as I said before, I've witnessed him saying we need to depopulate the planet. So
Yes.
this way, it's a slow integration of this toxic, chemicals that we're putting into our bodies. If you're not aware of the GMO factor. So, with that being said, I just want people to wake up so that you stop eating GMO foods.
Yeah, it's doable. I mean, you just have to go, and when you're shopping, you just look for the label. You want to save a few bucks. Usually, the store will have the generic brand. A lot of these bigger chains are seeing that people want to be healthier and eat less chemicals and are more mindful and conscious of what's going into their body. And so a lot of these big companies are giving the consumer some options. So that's really great. I mean, we are making progress.
Yes.
And we vote with our dollars. So the more times that you go and decide to buy something that's healthier, that's a vote right there.
So how did this start? I mean, as an experiment?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Everything has a history, right? And it goes back to genetic engineering. And in 1935, DNA was discovered by a Russian scientist named Andrei Nikolaevich. Sorry about that. That was when the DNA was first discovered. And then we went to 1973. There was something called recombinant DNA created. And it's the idea for man-made DNA, or rDNA, and it came from a grad student at Stanford University, Professor Herbert Boyer. And then the biology people took off with it. 1975, there was a conference called the Asilomore Conference, and it was a group of biologists essentially got together with a few lawyers and some doctors and created some guidelines for the safe use of genetically engineered DNA.
Wow. Wow.
Now, doesn't this sound similar to what they're doing now with geoengineering global governance?
So you were saying this is really all connected.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at Bill Gates for a second. And you said something very important before, because Bill Gates is invested in depopulation. And what does that mean? It means that Bill Gates has decided that nature didn't get it right.
Wow. Playing God? Hello? Playing God.
Well, let's just look, because I think the track record, it's not my opinion, it's a track record. It's like anything else. So look at how many shares does the man have in Monsanto. Then you go over how much did he spend on the geoengineering. Then you go to look at the vaccines and you say, good Lord. Because first of all, we know now that vaccines have not been proven safe. And in fact, there's a big debate right now. It's a very hot topic. It's important for our health to know that these things are safe and it's not just a big business.
So how do the vaccines and the GMOs connect?
Well, again, it's saying that we need to do an intervention.
Yes.
Like your immune system isn't up to par. So I have an idea that I'm going to do this vaccination on you. You know, it's a theory that its time has come to be critically analyzed and to see if it really applies. I'm all for good health, but Gandhi said that if you introduce filth into your body, you can expect that there will be more filth in your body. It's not going to make you healthier to introduce filth into your body. That's a theory that was introduced, I think, early in the 1900s, late 1800s, and it's questionable what happened and how that played out. So
now, aren't there many countries that don't allow GMO, period?
Yes, and that's there's 38 right now. All right, and let's remember that Russia is one of them. Even Saudi Arabia.
Oh my goodness, wow.
Okay, come on, China. China just put a 5-year ban on a certain kind of GMO. It's ridiculous, you know. And in fact, the Chinese military will not allow their soldiers to have GMO food. Okay, so
and what is their reasoning behind it? I'm just curious.
It's not healthy.
Just not healthy. Okay. Now you had mentioned that there was one death that's been proven by GMO tomato.
There was a GMO tomato. I'm going to have to go and pick up the exact date on that. So far, that's the only death that's been linked to GMOs directly. But again, we have to remember that there were no health tests. There were no studies to prove that it was safe. You know, so again, what we're looking at is a scientific war, and it's based on intervention and interfering with the natural processes of life, whether we're talking about the food or the climate or our immune system. So it's very important. And the good news is that there are options, because once you're aware of this and you cut GMOs out of your diet, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to be feeling like a lot less weighted down, and it's just well worth it to be careful and mindful of what we put in our body.
So what's you know, other than stopping at, well, first reading all the messages on all the food that we eat, making sure that it's GMO free. How can we, as we the people and a political level, how can we stop this?
Well, one of the best things we can do is grow a garden.
It's
That's
so simple, but
revolutionary.
it's not always practical.
It's not always practical, but you can take small steps, and we can go to the farmers markets. We can start to support the people that are really doing the work and walking the talk. And again, once we start voting with our dollars and the big markets and stuff see that there's a demand for it, then the prices can come down. I think that the best thing possible would be industrialized organics in the United States and the world, because one, you're going to increase people's health, and two, you're going to get rid of CO2 in the atmosphere. Because why have a problem with it if we do? It's because the trees are not doing well. We don't have enough regenerated soil. What we've been doing is with the GMO industry, it's so dependent on chemicals, and so when you think about what the relationship of that is when you're farming and doing this important work, there is no room for chemicals in farming. I mean, what are we doing? Let's look at this. Let's take another step back. How did we get this big ag? You got to remember that Monsanto came out of the war industry. What's their big product? Agent Orange. Okay? Agent Orange from Dow Chemical and Monsanto. Okay? And this horrific chemical company that caused so much physical, emotional, and then there are, the generations after that are affected by these chemicals. I mean, it's a crime against humanity, and it's a wonder to me. I can't understand how these people are still in business,
So how can we get like China and Russia, how can we get to stop it?
That's the thing, because in California, we did try with Prop 37 to try to label these things. And you know what? Monsanto and all these people came out and they somehow prevented us from getting the labeling. You think, oh, well, I got to label my mattress. Why can't we label our food? But it's past that. We should be banning these things. You're exactly right. There's no room for Monsanto. We don't need chemicals. We don't need things that are unhealthy for us. France recently, I think, January 3rd, officially bans all pesticides in public green spaces. So that's your Roundup, and Monsanto and the GMOs are dependent on the Roundup. It's a vicious circle.
Oh my God!
And in Marin, we know about the Roundup.
Well, what can I guess the first step for all the people out here, we the people, is stop buying products that have GMO in it. That's probably the first step.
Yeah.
But how beyond that, how do we get the government to take notice and say, hey, stop?
Exactly. Well, we have to do, I think, the same sort of approach as what we're doing with the geoengineering. I think that we're going to have to get a ban in place. And it's going to be tough because let's face it, Bill Gates and Monsanto are powerful. Monsanto, in fact, they defeated the United States Army in a lawsuit in the early 70s. The United States Army tried to sue Monsanto for the Agent Orange. Okay, they tried to sue. I don't think it was Monsanto at this time. I think they had a different name. At any rate, they lost the lawsuit. And so that tells you how powerful they were. They didn't get punished for the Agent Orange, did they? No, now they're the biggest food company in the United States, and we have to put them out of business. There's no question about that. You're absolutely right. I think that we have to get together as neighbors, and the first thing is we just stop buying their stuff, okay? Because now they don't even want to label it. They have such little respect for the public that they don't even want you to know what's in the food. Okay, so let's just stop supporting them and buying them. Let's put them out of business. Let's stop buying the Roundup and all this stuff.
Oh, totally. Oh my
And then
goodness.
that's something that I'm really looking at, because you have to ban these things, and we'll have to take a look at France's model that they just came up with, and we'll have to take a look at China's model. We'll have to take a look at Russia's model, right? Russia actually is probably, I guess, one of the biggest organic food producer in the world now. I mean, they've created quite a niche for themselves because they decided that they were not going to, they were going to ban GMOs. Okay, so that speaks volumes right there.
So did they have to go through legislation to do that?
No, Putin was like, no, we're just not doing GMOs. So you tell me. I mean, I'm not going to come to any conclusions here, but I do know that the fourth branch of government, we the people, has got to show up in this battle, because when you have a strong public campaign, public awareness and public advocacy campaign, that's when you can really get somewhere. And when, people and consumers come out and they just say what they want and make their demands, and again, spend your money, vote with your dollars.
Yeah, because the only way that they're going to stop is through the pocketbook.
Exactly.
That's the only way, because that's their God is money, unfortunately. I hate to be so blunt about it, but I mean, that's why we're in the state that we're in on so many levels, is because money has been first, and it just can't be that way anymore.
Yeah, we have to flip. We have to flip it. There's no question about it. I mean, it's and it's a shame, but it is a reflection, and it is something that we should consider, because it's much more important to be healthy than anything else. If we don't have our health, then we don't have anything. So it does make sense to do what we can do. And it's just incredible to me that Monsanto is still in business. I mean, like I said, because you would think that, if their food was so great, why wouldn't they want to label it? Why do they not want you to know what's in there? And then, another thing they've said, they're so profit driven that, someone did ask, well, what about the health impacts? Is there any, are there any health impacts? And Monsanto was like, well, that's not our job. We're just here to sell food, let the FDA deal with that. So that's why those people need to be
why haven't the FDA said stop? I don't get it.
There it is. This is it. This is a big business that has been just allowed to unroll their products onto the consumer, again, without any health and safety proof. They just roll it out there. And so that's why we're lucky, because we have you. I mean, no one on the media, on the regular TV, is ever going to talk to you about this, because it's a tight-knit corporate industry, and it's all tied together. But it is falling apart because people are seeing right through it, and that's a good thing.
Well, I think now more than ever, people are being forced to wake up about the reality that's going on in our society and the planet, but mostly in the U.S. right now, because we're Americans, and they have to look at this. They're being forced into it, and anytime I can talk about it, I do. So, because education, and health. I mean, health is number one. The allergies that are going on, the obesity that's going on, amongst cancer. I mean, I'm barraged with people that have cancer around me. My sister-in-law, and it's like, what is going on? I mean, there's a lot of levels of, interpretation, but. And everybody's chemistry is a little different. And I'm not an expert, but, it's important to get involved and be aware. And I know it's hard because not all of the foods are going to be GMO free.
Right.
It's hard. I mean, and then if it's not labeled, then you just assume it's GMO?
Well, yeah, at this point, there's no way that you're going to be able to completely avoid GMO because it's in, side ingredients, that you don't know about. So again, it's good to avoid the processed foods. When you think about engineering something, genetically engineering something, like what does that mean? You have the biology involved, and then what they're doing with the genetic modification is they're doing things with the DNA and manipulating the DNA. For example, they're creating a DNA for a daughterless mouse. Okay, so they're manipulating.
What do you mean?
That would mean that the mice there would be no female mice born.
Oh, God.
Okay, so think about the implications of this and look at it. This is science that's crossed the line and is just experimenting in every possible venue. So we've got science experimenting in the food, okay? And let's see, genetic engineering in the food. So normally food like breaks down and it has an organic process, right? But then what happens if you engineer the food? So maybe it'll last a little longer, maybe it'll be a little prettier on the shelf. But then when we ingest that, what happens? Our biology is set up already. Mother Nature already got it right for thousands of years. This misconception and idea that Mother Nature was wrong and now science needs to engineer some, modifications, that's just nonsense. And so that's why we're seeing the obesity and the health
issues.
Impacts.
Yeah. I'm wondering, how did they prove that this death from GMO tomatoes, were they able to establish that?
I think what they did was it was a lot of just looking through and testing, and eventually it went back to, they took it back to this particular kind of tomato. And I guess they could figure out that the DNA matched this kind of GMO.
I mean, how many GMOs are there?
That's a great question. I mean, the thing is, in the history of it, the first GMO patent was in 1980. It was issued, and there was a court case between a genetics engineer at General Electric and the U.S. Patent Office. And it was settled by a 5-4 Supreme Court ruling that basically let them go ahead and take that first patent, and it allowed the first patent on a living organism. And it's a bacterium. Okay, the first GMO was a bacterium with an appetite for crude oil, ready to gobble up oil spills. Then
that's a GMO?
That was a type of genetically modified organism.
Okay.
And so they did that, but look at the repercussions of this, because this is, I think, what they dumped in to the Gulf when there was that oil, the oil spilled out in the Gulf.
Right.
Okay, they dumped this in there. It's an experiment. Okay, it was bad enough that there was an oil spill, but then they dumped this stuff in there, and now they've introduced all kinds of organisms that are not natural to the ecosystem, and there you go. It's contaminated.
Yeah.
So that's
I can only imagine what it did on top of the oil to all the sea life.
It's an absolute.
But anyway, getting back to food, I'm curious as to how many threads there are of GMOs with food. I mean, is it so to understand it? Is it like in different food types? So it's different modification, genetic modification for each food group.
Well, I think they just kind of pick a target and go with it. The first one was corn. You see, the thing is, the problem with this is they're making a lot of these products that aren't even going on the going on the table to feed us. You have a lot of this corn. They're doing this biofuel.
And don't they have cows eating corn?
There you go. I mean, so this is how we can't really escape it, because then if you're going to eat, if you're going to eat dairy, you're going to end up getting GMOs precisely that reason. They're not feeding the cow organic feed. Okay, so there's a lot of thinking that we have to do to kind of sort out what is going to be the healthiest path for us. You can't really avoid it if you're going to eat stuff like corn, soy, alfalfa, because it's in everything. And then your soft drinks, you want to really stay away from sugar. Sugar, we can all do with less of.
Right.
This is something that in terms of like illnesses with cancer and things like this, you want to make sure that you're avoiding the sugar, because that is what the illness will feed off of. So you want to try to cut the sugar down if you can. You'll be much healthier. But yeah, this is just something that the science, again, got away from us and is kind of dictating which direction we're going to go. And food is supposed to be our medicine.
Oh, absolutely. Pure. I mean, natural, organic, pure. And it's so corrupt.
Yeah. Well, we the
thing is, and then we have to pay so much for healthy food.
Right. If you don't pay now, you're going to pay later.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But it is what it is. So we pay now or, pay later, like you said.
Pay now or pay later.
Yeah.
Go to the farmers markets. I mean, in Marin, we're lucky we have these farmers markets that are just incredible.
Yeah, well, even in San Francisco, all the farmers come there to sell their goods. So
exactly. We need to go and get into their markets, and we'll be eating healthier. We'll be supporting our farmers, who are so important. And, it's really amazing to me, too, that, you're trying to do the right thing. You want to sell people wholesome food. And then to get the labeling, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to get your product with one of these organic labels on it. Okay, so
why is it so? I can't. Why is it so difficult? Yeah.
Well, so this is the thing. How do you corner the market? Okay, with advertising, and you're just going to trust that the public is ignorant about it.
Yeah.
Okay, because at the end of the day, they want to sell. They aren't as concerned with the quality. And that's where we come in, because we can just be demanding high quality, and then we'll just take our business elsewhere. If they just want to sell us this garbage, well, that's an opportunity for us to go find someplace, again, like our farmers markets and stuff, and go and support these folks who are doing a great job and trying to provide us with really healthy alternatives.
Wow. So, I suppose that it can't be scientific. Well, yeah, if there's been one death, then why can't they do testing? Who is going to be testing for?
Exactly.
Who?
Well, this is the thing. It's rigged against us. The Monsanto has got to be confronted and dealt with, because they are in India, for example. Because Monsanto has gone roughshod all over the planet. But in Africa and India, they are really targeting these areas to inundate them with GMOs and the vaccines. But in India, 250,000 farmers have committed suicide because of these GMOs. Because why? It's 5,000 times more for them to buy the seed than it was before. So not only that, it's a horrible thing. And so Bill Gates, because he is wealthy, has just cornered the market and just been able to go and do whatever he wants, introduce these contaminating products with absolutely no care whatsoever about the health consequences.
The India situation, I'm a little, I'm overwhelmed by that figure. You said 250,000 people commit suicide because
committed suicide. These farmers. Go listen to Dr. Vandana Shiva. She is a rock star environmentalist, and she has been trying to stop GMOs and Monsanto. She's from India, and she wrote the book Soil Not Oil, many books. But this is the thing. We have got to stop this war, and this is a war with Monsanto. Make no mistake about it, these people will never stop until they are stopped. It's a human intervention, and that's why the best thing we can do is vote with others, not support them. And then there are lawsuits. Let's see, there was a lawsuit, in 2012, I believe, yes. A farmer in France sued Monsanto for chemical poisoning caused by the Lasso pesticide. And that's in the Roundup family again. And Marin, we know all about the Roundup.
So what's the result of that?
Well, he won the lawsuit, and so now France is, they just recently, they are done with Monsanto. Officially bans all pesticides in public green spaces.
So France, it is happening. It is happening, and that's the most important thing. So we can keep that ball rolling. Mm-hmm. Now we need to do it in the U.S.
Yes, and we're gonna have to go across the board on that. I mean, this is just not a single issue. The GMO issue is related to the geoengineering issue, because again, it's two instances where they're just doing it. They didn't ask permission. It's an international sort of scope of corporations that are looking to really control the agriculture on the planet. And so we have to do the opposite. We support our small farmers and our mom and pop shops, and that's how we do it. We can totally turn this around and flip it.
Yeah, if they don't die first. We have to keep our humor because it's a horrible reality to me. It's
it is. It's very sobering. 30, 40 years ago, no one had to think about getting organic food. It just wasn't grown with chemicals. It wasn't grown with pesticides. Yeah. It's like all of a sudden, these big ag companies decided, there's an opportunity here. And that's basically it. It's profit driven, like you were saying before. It has nothing to do with quality or improving the life of the farmers. It's quite the opposite, in fact. And I think that the track record kind of spells that out. So that's not an opinion.
So what do you think the first step is, besides reading the label and not buying and making sure that you don't buy as much food as possible that has labeling that's GMO free?
Yeah, GMO free.
What else can you do?
That's a big part of it right there, and that's huge. And there's a lot, at least in Marin, we're lucky because we have a lot of choices there.
Yeah.
besides the farmers markets, we have like the Trader Joe's. There's places that you can go and not have to spend $1 million. And even like your Safeway and places like this, they have the generic brand, so you can.
Yeah, I noticed that Safeway, because I do shop there, for some certain things, and they're becoming much more in tune with organic and GMO free. And it's, you can get things on sale, in that venue, in that vein, you can get things on sale. So, it's there, it's happening. It is, it's not going to be so over expensive, so over the top.
Yeah.
It is changing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of choices in it. And it's always a good time to start, getting healthier and being more mindful about, what our choices are. And, it's just a good time to be able to do it. It's a new year, and we can make a lot of changes now. And, it's also good to talk with our families about it and have these discussions about the food, because like a lot of times if we've been buying the same thing for years and stuff, we don't really think about it. We don't know about the transition with the corporation, and that at one point, what it was great at one time, but then, they went GMO on us. So, talk to your aunts and uncles and people in your family and see if they know about it, because chances are, if people have been trying to slim down, one good way to do it would be to take these things out of your diet, because again, your body can't process this stuff. It's not biologically compatible. Just because they can make it, it doesn't mean your body's going to be able to process it. And I think that that's another reason that we're seeing these illnesses that we didn't have 40 or 50 years ago. Your body just can't process it. So especially these rats and stuff that they have been doing some of the experiments with.
Now, who's they?
Well, there's some different universities that have been doing the studies. Luckily, with the GMOs, people are much quicker to try to confront that. I'll have to pull up some photos for you. They aren't pleasant, but it just shows the tumors that these poor rats have after eating the GMO.
Oh, God.
You don't want to see it. But again, it's something that we have to know, and it's an easy way for us to get healthier, because we just avoid these things.
Right.
And let's put them out of business this year.
That's a good big goal.
Yeah, well, they have the millions against Monsanto. I think that's the part, people, especially where we are, Marin, people are onto it. And
well, it has to spread beyond Marin. That's, I mean, the fact that this taqueria didn't know what a GMO was just blows me away, and that's right here.
Right.
So, well, yeah, education.
I remember driving across the country, in the middle of the country, like your Kansas area.
Oh, the Midwest.
They had all these Monsanto signs, saying, we provide jobs and this and that Monsanto. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to get out of here. But it's just, they can say whatever they want with the advertising, but that doesn't mean it's true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that if we push back and then let's set our sights on what we want. I mean, industrialized organics, in terms of agriculture, would do wonders for our country. So
what do you mean industrialized organics?
Well, instead of GMOing ourselves to death, to go on offense with food production and growing healthy food. if we weren't having to fight with these chemical companies and these big ag companies, we could do our part to regenerate the soil, which again would do so much for the climate. It would do so much to take out the CO2 and help us to get our air healthy. So this whole relationship of the planting and the soil and the water and the seeds, this is a beautiful, sacred thing that happens on Earth, and it's just been interrupted by this GMO process. So there's a lot that we can do to flip around what our relationship is to food and how we see that. I mean, you've seen these pictures of these people in these suits with the masks and they're spraying the food. Now, come on. I mean, if they have to wear a suit on their body, do you really want to eat that? People might they might say, oh, but organic is like, it's $1 more. Well, really, I think you should pay $1, and then you won't end up in the hospital, several years down the line, having to pay a whole lot more. And again, if we buy more of the organic, then the cost will come down. So, and if we, so these are the ways that we can do that.
So, do you have any references that you could give our viewers that they could educate themselves a little bit more on this?
Yeah, you know what? I just went and looked up just kind of GMO health and look up for 2017. But I would go and look at the work of Dr. Vandana Shiva.
Dr. Shiva?
Dr. Shiva, yes. She's from India.
Right.
And she wrote the book Soil Not Oil.
Okay.
And that's what I would recommend people to start with. To come back to a view of food as medicine and nurturing us, and giving that love back to the soil, because we're part of the earth. And I think that that's so crucial here and so key to be part of the earth and tend the soil, and then just be in awe and in gratitude for the gifts that we receive.
And it's all part of love. I mean, if we love ourselves, then we feed ourselves with loving food.
Exactly.
Because our palate is, who doesn't really love to taste wonderful food?
Mm-hmm.
It feeds the soul, it feeds our body, it feeds everything for us as, healthy human beings. So we really need to put healthy things in our body all the time.
Exactly.
And we all cheat a little bit, but and I know that sugar that would be a whole nother show in itself, because I'm not an expert on it, but I do know that it stays in your system, in your cells, and it takes a long time to get out, and it's addictive. I mean, it's highly addictive, but it's just not good for us. White sugar, processed sugar, period.
Yeah, you want to try to stay away from that. And you can't be perfect, but you just do the best you can. And and it's a joy. Food, feeds the soul, but it's also like a community. I mean, how awesome when you get together with your friends and you're enjoying
family. I know, it's wonderful to sit and talk and have a wonderful conversation and then eat some wonderful food. It's loving, it's it's spiritually uplifting, actually. It
really is. It really is. How many meals can you think of that you just shared with your favorite people in the world? Those stick with you and bring you good feelings for a long time after that.
Or when you make something, when you cook something. Like at Christmas, my brother and I made homemade raviolis. And we did the whole thing together. I mean, he made the filling and he rolled out the dough and I put it together and cut it and, and it's, like you said, the community. It's sharing, it's fellowship, it's part of the love process. And we can't lose that. We can't lose that. And when we do it with healthy food, it's even better. I mean, you can't beat that.
Totally. Yeah, we have to make more room for that in our lives. And that's really what's the most important thing, is spending time with the people that we love and care about. And I remember traveling to Paris several years ago and seeing some of Europe and just marveling at the different approach to life. And people there in Europe would be spending hours at the table together, talking, having coffee. I mean, think about it. It's like here, everybody's running to get to work, aren't we? We got to get
always in a hurry.
We're in a hurry. I stand up to eat. My mom's like, aren't you even going to sit down? I'm like, no, I got to go. It's like.
And that's one of the worst things you can do.
Right. So it's like, we got
to
sit. Time to nurture ourselves and sit down,
relax,
and relax and be with the people that are there with us in the moment. And that's like one of the most beautiful things we can do as humans, as far as the whole family orientation,
Yep.
And we can appreciate the world with food too, because from every different culture we're offered some marvelous gourmet this
wonderful.
And that,
Yep.
That can bring the world together too when we're talking about food.
And it helps the diversity. It helps, the interchange between the diverse communities. That is really wonderful, and being open to that. That's the most important thing, is being open.
Yeah.
So is there any other things that you want to share before we close our session?
I just want to thank you so much, because I think it's just so important that we have the chance to talk about this topic. It's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's vital to our survival. I'll leave you with this. And as a reminder for all of us, never give up, even when things look impossible, especially when the events that are happening and unfolding globally. Be grateful, and be grateful for your freedom of choice, freedom to learn, to earn, and discern. Keep healthy, eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. Feed your spirituality and meditation, and with meditation and prayer. Love yourself unconditionally. Stop criticizing. Stop judging. Forgive yourself and others. Stop allowing others to dominate the way you feel and think about yourself. Be compassionate with yourself first. Share your abundance and wealth with others in whatever form that may be. When fear knocks, let faith answer the door. We need love, unconditional love, more than ever now, for what is unfolding in our government and society. Remember the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life, by Henry David Thoreau. Thank you, Marin TV, for facilitating our show, and especially to my crew, Lori, Eric, Brad, and Ginger. Thank you. If you like our show, please let us know at #MarinTV or on our Facebook page. Please support and become a member of Marin TV. Bye for now. Until next time.